I'm Jackie Jarrell, and I'm in the BOOclub.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Battle of Ontario Hockey Podcast, featuring a Senators fan and a Leafs fan. We're here to talk about your two favorite teams, the rest of the NHL, local hockey, hockey all around the world, and to bring back memories from your favorite hockey teams and players. If you love the Leafs, Sens, B-Sens, NHL, or any other hockey, including the late Belleville Bulls, you are going to want to tune into our podcast. The gloves are off, the buckets are spinning, let's get the chirps flying. Welcome to the BOOclub! Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Battle of Ontario Hockey Podcast. For the first 5 minutes, I'm your lone guest, Broekema. Fleming is unavailable right now until we have our guests come on. And speaking of guests, we have an awesome guest today. She is our first female guest. Ladies and gentlemen, the great. She's got lots of things going on in her life. She has many, many accomplishments. We could go on for days, which I do a little bit in the intro, which you'll get to in 5 minutes. Jackie Jarrell. If you know hockey and you know sports in the Quinte region and female sports, Jackie is at the top of the list. So we have an awesome interview that we're going to get to, guys, in about 5 minutes here. Just a couple things I want to talk about before we get there. So first things first, we've got some awesome hockey news coming up. We have our first tournament of the year next weekend, March 18th to 20th. It's a 3-on-3 All-Star Championship. I think we're going to have about 14 teams, which for hockey will be our biggest tournament to date. But hopefully that only lasts for 3 weeks because we have another one in April. But I want to talk about the March one. So we're having a lot of success. We have two divisions. We have we have competitive in the March one, and we have recreational. So it's going to be a ton of fun. There's some really, really good prizes. Everybody in the tournament gets to do the rapid fire, which we're going to have, which whoever gets top three in the rapid fire throughout the tournament, top three scores will win prizes. So everybody gets to do that for free, guys. You get one entry free, and then it's $5 on top of that to participate again. But it's going to be a ton of fun. Everybody's getting pizza. Everybody gets a free beverage, and it is alcoholic beverage. If you want a beer, you can have a beer. So there's a lot of great things going with this, and of course, like all of our pay it forward sporting events, part of our proceeds to go towards getting kids in sports who can't afford it. And right now, if you know anybody in the Quinte region, so it doesn't have to be Belleville, it can be Belleville, Tweed, Madoc, Marmora, Napanee, Trenton, you name it, Picton, anybody in the area that wants to play any spring or summer sports and needs some help. Maybe their parents can pay for part of it or their guardians, but maybe they need some help with the equipment or whatever the case. Go to payitforwardsports.ca and fill out our application, and we'll see what we can do. We're going to be helping lots of kids this spring and summer. So we're very excited for that. We've already got a pile of applications, but we're trying to help as many people as we can. So we would love for you guys to help out with that. So March is pretty much full. We're excited to get back and to run tournaments again. It seems like life's getting back to normal as far as COVID and all the regulations. So that's awesome. The next big thing, and that's why that being our biggest hockey tournament to date, is only going to last 3 weeks because we have our biggest hockey tournament. We think will probably be of the year in the Quinte region. It's our Kings of 4-on-4 Championship. And when have you ever played the hockey tournament where the winning team for 12 people, so 11 skaters and a goalie, wins a trip to Las Vegas? It's going to be awesome, guys. There's going to be some really good competition. Having said that, I mean, if you get a hot goalie or, you start putting the puck in the net, anybody can win. You don't have to have an NHL skilled team. There's teams from all over kind of thing and all types of skills. And I think really anybody has a chance to win, especially with it being 4-on-4. You get a little strategy going where you play some smart defense and you take advantage of your offensive opportunities. I mean, anybody can win. So that's awesome. Now, guys, if you're thinking my wife isn't going to let me go to Las Vegas, like no worries. You can use it as a travel credit with Live For Today Travel Agency. So let's say, for instance, your team wants to play, and but you think maybe we don't even want to travel together. I mean, it would be awesome, obviously, to have the whole team go together. But if that's not in the cards, no problem. Each player can take their own travel credit and it possibly go away with their families. So there's lots of different things they could do with that as far as if you win. And not only that, guys, it's going to be an awesome, fun tournament. You're going to meet a lot of people. You're going to, you can have a good time, and you get very, very good competition, which I know, especially with COVID, a lot of people haven't had that. There's been leagues shut down. I know one of the big ones in Belleville hasn't ran in 2 years. So it's going to be the best hockey around outside, I would say, of Senior A or whatever they have going on. So where was I at? Okay, so the thing to go on with that, guys, though, is let's say you're like, we want to put a team in, but we don't know if we really have that good of a chance to win. So is there any other prizing? You bet. We are going to send one random team in the tournament. It's going to be selected randomly. There will be team captains' names in a hat. And one random team is going to win tickets to the Blue Jays game, bus included, this summer for their entire team. So how awesome is that? So we're going to give away a trip, possibly to Las Vegas or to wherever you want to go with a credit. And we're going to give away tickets to the Toronto Blue Jays game, bus included, from Belleville, or we can stop and pick you up on the way. Again, how amazing is that? The cost is $1,100 per team. That's tax included. So the actual price is actually under $1,000. That's under $100 per person. So there's 12 guys, let's say, or girls. Girls can play as well. It is an adult tournament. So guys, get in. It's going to be a ton of fun. Great competition. Guaranteed 3 games. But you could play possibly as many as 7 if playoffs go that deep. So it is going to be a really, really good tournament. We're very excited. We've been on the radio talking about it. We've been to different news outlets. And again, guys, part of the money we make from this tournament, along with all of our other tournaments, go towards helping kids in our community, right here in our community, our Quinte community, get into sports who can't afford it. So we know that I know myself how important it has been growing up, having the privilege to play sports. I got to play AAA, AA, you name it. And I met most of my friends playing sports. And I created, so many friendships and long-lasting memories. And the list goes on. Not only that, skills and, being able to talk right now to you guys. So I think it's so important. And now we have a lot of partners that help us out as well. So that leads me to my next thing. We are still accepting partnerships for this year. We're having a lot of success in the community. If you own a business or know anybody that owns a business and is looking to help out, get a hold of us. We'd love to have you a part of our partnership program. To go on with that, guys, we are not somebody that just goes and asks for money. We give advertising back for it. So some of the forms of advertising and how you can do that is we have a tournament banner, which I'm sure you guys have seen, which will be actually updated on Monday. So at the next weekend's tournament, we'll see it on our website and on Facebook and social medias. So your logo will be on there, which through the course of a year, at all the tournaments, you're gonna have thousands of people see it. So that's pretty cool. Obviously on our website, and not only that, when you go on our website, let's say for instance, we'll use Live For Today Travel because they're partnered with us. But we click on the Live For Today Travel logo on the Pay It Forward Sports website. It takes us to their website. So now you can see all their branding, you see everything they're about, and possibly use their services. So if you have a business or know anybody that has a business and would like to give back, but would also like to receive some advertising for it, get a hold of us, guys. Get a hold of us. We still have some room for that. One of the most amazing ones we have, and I know the owner here, and he gives back to the community all the time, including the Bonesteel golf tournament that I go in every year, is Monument Geomatics. So these guys they're a very big company. They're new, but they're glued to our community, and that's what you guys have to look for. Is it doesn't always matter the size of the company, but sometimes it's how much they give back and how much they know as the community is important. So Monument Geomatics and Engineering Services. Our firm has built a solid reputation by working closely with their project partners, maintaining a keen focus on precision and providing quality deliverables on an on-time budget. So for engineering services in the community, in the Quinte community, guys, these guys are second to none. And like I said, they help out with the community all the time, not just with Pay It Forward Sports, which they're a lead partner with us, and we thank them for that. But they help out in other things, such as the Bonesteel tournament. So thanks to Monument Geomatics. And the next thing, guys, is the other thing we just announced this week regarding our tournaments, our first 2 hockey tournaments, but we're going to try and do this for all of our tournaments. We understand, and I've done it because I've ran teams in other tournaments and other leagues, by being the captain of the team, meaning you're going to be control of the money, you're going to control the jerseys, and you're going to, more importantly, control of who's playing, getting guys, guys are canceling. We know that sometimes this can be a bit of a tough draw. Guys say, they're going to play, and then they don't decide not to and don't pay you, and collecting money and all that stuff. So we're going to give back to the captains because we think you guys are important. You are important. You're the ones that sign up for our tournaments. So for our first tournament, we're going to do a captain's draw on March next weekend, and for just the captains of the teams. And one captain is going to win a prize. You're going to win a gift card to the Hockey Stick Man, another one of our proud partners. If you're looking for hockey sticks for either of our tournaments, guys, get out, check out the Hockey Stick Man. They have it for all budgets. You want to use the hockey stick that Sidney Crosby or Austin Matthews, who's scoring, I think he's got 46 goals this year. You want to use their sticks? Go there. You think, you know what? I only play, once a week or a few times a year, whatever the case. I don't know what my budget is. I don't want to spend, top dollar on a hockey stick. You know what else they have? They have refurbished sticks that I use. I've used them and I love them. And what they are is basically they take a broken stick and they're able to fuse it back together. And I'm telling you, I've used these for over a decade. Not kidding. And they're phenomenal. And you can get them for I want to say the good ones are $70. Don't quote me on that. Check them out. But they also have ones with, some minor defects. Sometimes you can get sticks there, guys, for $20 to $30, which is amazing for a hockey stick. So check out the Hockey Stick Man on Maitland Avenue. They're awesome. So thanks again for them to be partners with us. And the captain's prize is awesome. Get into our April tournament, guys. So last but not least, guys, this is an amazing interview with a real professional, someone who has changed athletics for women, for females in our area. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoy this. Jackie Jarrell. This young lady has made a Hall of Fame type name for herself. Growing up on a farm in Belleville, Ontario, playing boys hockey on the Belleville Bobcats and Quinte Red Devils, playing on a Division I scholarship on one of the best university women's teams in America, playing in the National Women's Hockey League, won a national championship at the Canadian Winter Games for Team Ontario, has been Belleville's Women's Athlete of the Year. She works at the OHL and NHL fitness combines. She's been the Quinte Red Devils head fitness instructor for 7+ years. Meanwhile, also opened her own state-of-the-art gym that trains all sorts of hockey stars, both boys and girls. She's also participated in 11 inline hockey world championships, winning 2 world titles. I could go on, but I'm out of paper. She's done so many things for herself, moved barriers, and she keeps going. Ladies and gentlemen, our first female guest, Jackie Jarrell.
Jackie, how are you? And thanks for coming on.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. It's so nice of you to have a female on, and I'm certainly honored to be the first one.
Well, Jackie, just to get started, I did throw a little joke in there at the end that I'm out of paper, but honestly, the amount of accomplishments you have are they're second to none. And I'm sure you've inspired so many athletes, but especially women in our community, right? And now I'm sure that you've even trained some of them, and that's awesome to see.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for all your kind comments. I really appreciate it. Honestly, from a very young age, I've just followed my passion for the game of hockey. And, I was a minority growing up playing on the boys team, but actually played with some awesome guys that I'm still friends with to this day. And 95% of the guys accepted me as one of them. And I had a lot of great experiences growing up. And honestly, now where I'm at in my life as my athletic career winds down and I'm in more of a professional role, that's what it's all about. It's all about inspiring the next generation and young girls, whether they want to play hockey or another sport, to do great things. And a lot of the guys I grew up playing with now have girls that are getting involved in sports, and it's really fun to see their kids growing up, and I'm just such a huge believer in getting involved in the game. And I look at myself, I'm following my passion, but I guess along the way you do break barriers, and if it inspires someone else to do the same thing in whatever it is they love to do, then that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's a great answer for sure. So you kind of speak about, being a role model for the next generation. Did you have any role models growing up? Like, were there anyone you looked to athletically that you admired as you were coming up the ranks?
Yeah, there's definitely some very successful women in our area. I think that, are maybe a few years older than me, but had the same kind of experience playing on the boys team. A few names that come to mind are Marcy Deering, now Marcy O'Shea, Kelly Sage, Jackie Coons, now Jackie Johnson. She was actually a huge inspiration for me. When I was 16 years old in grade 12, she played in the National Women's Hockey League, and she was a teacher at my school, and her and I were actually on the same team together. And we played hockey 3 or 4 nights a week in Toronto, and often I would drive with her, and we would both be getting up to go to school in the morning, her go to work, me go to grade 12 to finish off my grade 12 year. And I think those people for sure, I know my mom always made sure that I knew that there was girls that played hockey because there wasn't a lot around when I was growing up. But there's obviously guys that I look to that have played the highest levels of hockey and that are not only great on the ice, but are great off the ice and make an impact in the game. And that's truly what I believe it's all about, being a good person on and off the ice.
Yeah, that's great. So so you got a Division I scholarship playing for Mercyhurst in the Mercyhurst in America. When did that kind of come up? Like, did you commit as a young age? And how did that process take off for you?
That's an awesome question. Even from the time that I've went through, which wasn't, I think probably about 10 years ago now, to now it's changed a lot. But for me, back then it was, you were getting recruited in grade 11 and 12. And in my grade 12 year, I missed a lot of high school because of my hockey commitments, but it was all worth it for me. When I made the decision that I needed to leave the area and go and play in a league where I would get noticed, I was traveling back and forth from Belleville 3 to 4 times a week. Bless my mom, she took me most of the time. My dad, has both of them have 2 businesses. My dad's working at the farm, so my mom's taking me a lot of the time. And I think once I stepped foot in that league, I was only 16 at the time. The average age on my team was 25, and I was able to get noticed by some of the universities, and I was really fortunate to have some different options of where I could go to school. And then that same year, I also played for Team Ontario when we won gold in the Canada Winter Games. So that was really, I think, the starting point for me. And I just, like I said, I just had such a passion for the game. I just always wanted to get better. I was very disciplined as a child, and I knew that if I wanted to make it, that's what it took. And I cared about school, and I always prided myself on being an honor student. And I probably took a little bit of a different path than a lot of people that I grew up with and once we got into high school. But I have no regrets. And I just, the biggest thing for me is I just followed my passion and the love for the game.
No, that's good.
I got one here. So now, as far as the university, did you have different schools to select from, or because that's obviously that was one of the best teams, right? So how did that come on?
Yeah. So I was really fortunate to have had probably about 10 or 12 D1 different offers in the U.S. For me, I'm very close with my family, and I didn't want to go far away from home. I wanted to be, close enough that I could my parents could come and see me. And my brothers actually came a lot too, which was nice, but I could also get home. So I really liked Mercyhurst because it had that small feel. There was only 3,000 students at our school, and it was 4.5 hours from home. It was an awesome academic school. School was super important to me. I knew from a young age that no matter how good of a hockey player I was, I would never make millions playing. So I needed to make sure I had a good degree. So I actually did my undergraduate degree there in sports medicine, and then went back a few years later as a grad assistant and did my master's in exercise science. So for me, it was the distance, the schooling was very good, and the hockey program there was just unbelievable. the men's and the women's hockey teams were the only Division I sports on campus. So not gonna lie, like we were kind of cool at times. My junior year, I love this story because this is such a story that I think some people that are supporters of women hockey really appreciate. So when we, my junior year was probably the best year, and I was unfortunately redshirted the year prior because I had a concussion and I was out for a long time. But when I came back, we had a very good hockey team and we were number 1 in the nation the entire year. And this was a big thing for the city, and we actually started getting more fans to our hockey games than the men's team on campus did. So it was actually a really exciting time, and the guys had nothing but respect for us, and they cheered us on just like we cheered them on. But I think for us, like, it was just such a fun thing to be a part of. And you know, people in the community just said that, you know, we were making so many fans, and it was a time where the Erie Otters maybe weren't as good as they, you know, were during the Connor McDavid years. So we gained a lot of fans, you know, a bigger fan base, and it was just a fun year to be a part of, and you know, just to grow the women's game and in that small community that that I was a part of.
Now, did you guys make any serious runs maybe in your junior or senior years?
Yeah, so every year I was at Mercyhurst, we won the CHA regular season and playoff championship. So that was a pretty awesome accomplishment. And then my last 3 years of university, we made it to the NCAA Final 8 game. And unfortunately, the first year we made it, we weren't upset, but we lost to Harvard in triple overtime in Boston. So that was kind of shitty. And then the next year we lost in double overtime to Wisconsin, and then the following year we hosted Minnesota Gophers, and we lost in overtime. So we made it to Final 8 every year, which was great, but we just couldn't get back past that to the Frozen Four when I was there.
That's a lot of heartbreak right there. 3, you got an overtime, a double overtime, and a triple overtime.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. You know what? It was a heartbreaker, but you know what? Like, I do keep in touch with a lot of the girls that I play with, and just the experiences, the memories. I just feel so fortunate to have had that experience in my life, and I was able to, you know, get my education paid for and, you know, live a really awesome life. It was a luxury, and we had our own private jets. We flew to, you know, 70% of our away games, probably if we were on the bus 4 or 5 hours, longer than 4 or 5 hours, our coach wanted us on a plane, so we weren't on the bus as long. So it was an incredible experience. We would literally walk into a restaurant. Our food was already ready for us. We were in and out of a restaurant in like 30-40 minutes. So I have no complaints. Unfortunately, it would have been unbelievable to win a national championship, but I really think that there was a lot of great people involved in the program on and off the ice that really took our program to the next step. And I know that they've never won a national championship, but they definitely had some good years after, and the program is still going strong. And honestly, it's unfortunately I had an injury, but it was just an unbelievable experience.
Well, it sounds like you got a little bit of maybe an NHL touch there with jet planes and all that, because I know a lot of guys that play pro, even in the AHL, and they're like, we don't even see airplanes unless we get called up, right? So that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's got to be pretty cool. Like, I just didn't realize they did that much.
Pardon me?
Well, let's face it, the NCAA budgets are unbelievable, and at some of the big, you know, schools, like our school wasn't big, but their hockey budgets are, you know, are very nice at our school. They care about the sport, and they care about the program, and, you know, supporting us as players. And honestly, it's like Christmas in September when you go back to school and you get all your, you know, customized sticks and your equipment, and, you know, it's a luxury for 4 years, and then it gets over and it sucks, but that's okay. It's part of the process. And I think as a female athlete, as a hockey player anyways, that you strive to play in that league. And it was just an awesome experience. And even when we're on the road traveling, a lot of the hotels that we stayed at in the big cities, we would see NHL teams because they would put us up in the nicest places. So I have no complaints, and I just feel so fortunate that I had that experience.
That's great. So what were the nerves like going into like what's the nerves like in a triple overtime or a double overtime game when you're in the final eight? Like it's got to be pressure's got to be off the charts, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think after university, when I started playing a little bit more with the national program with roller, I think you get adjusted to the pressure a little bit more, but you learn. It's obviously nerve-wracking. You certainly don't want to be the one that's causing the goal, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But I think it's the mental toughness, and when you get into those high pressure situations, you've got to just be mentally tough, and it's all those years of training and preparing to play at that level and to get through those tough overtimes. But yeah, you just hopefully you come out on top. It doesn't always happen, and I think it's unfortunately I've been a part of teams that haven't come out on top, but I also have been a part of teams that have come out on top. So I'm one of those people that can speak for both sides, and I think when you're that close and you lose, it just makes you that much more motivated to go back the next year and just be better. And obviously, if you have the opportunity to be successful in those situations, then you just enjoy the moment. And I feel like with my roller, I've had some of those moments, and it's been awesome.
So, yeah, and the top eight is still a huge accomplishment, right? And to win the league, playoffs, and regular season, did you say 2 years in a row? I think it was. That's still a huge accomplishment too, right? So.
Yeah, we actually every year I was there, we actually won the playoff and regular season championship. So I have 4 nice rings from it, and then
that's pretty cool.
So that it was a good accomplishment for sure. Obviously, I like to be a winner and be number one, but you can't always be at the top. So anyway.
Yeah, well, you got some rings though. The one thing I wanted to bring it back to just for a second, because you mentioned it earlier, was how you took a different path than a lot of the people you might have grown up with, especially I think at like the high school level. And you're like, you know what, to do anything and to get that opportunity to go and play at a great school like that in the States, and even go farther and have it like with all the accomplishments. You knew maybe you had to go to Toronto, right, to play hockey, to get more noticed, to train harder. And I think a lot of guys, that's where it makes or breaks you, right? And a lot of guys don't see it at the time, but if you don't start making those commitments, and you're not at the parties every Friday night with maybe some of your other friends, you might be in Toronto at hockey, right? But if you don't do that, you're not going to accomplish everything, right? So, but it's also easier said than done, right? Because I'm sure there's times where you're probably like, oh, I missed this, dance or whatever, and your friends they're showing photos on Facebook and stuff like that, right? So, but from all the accomplishments, I'm sure there's definitely no regrets in that aspect, right?
No, for sure. I had to separate myself a little bit in high school, especially when I got into grade 12, because I was really fortunate to be a part of the national program at the time. They didn't have a U18 Team Canada, so the next best thing was Team Ontario, and I was selected to play in the Canada game. So I had to be really careful. Like, I was getting drug tested when I was 16, so I had to be really careful, where I went, what I was doing, those kinds of things. So I think, unfortunately, I couldn't maybe hang out with all the people that I grew up with, but I knew that it was going to be worth it for me. And I think if you ask my parents, I was so committed and I just wanted it so bad. And I cared so much about, making it in hockey and my schooling, that I was okay with some of those sacrifices. But I think you made some great points, Jeff. Like, it's really hard at the time, but then when you get to experience these things, it's also like really gratifying. And I think for females in our area specifically, if you are good at your sport, unfortunately, you have to leave our city and you have to go and play in the bigger centers. And there's so many incredible guys in our area that have done great things with their sport, not only hockey, but others. And they're able to, a lot of the time play their junior in this area and still go on to the next level. However, with females, you can't do that. You have to leave and you have to play in the better leagues. So I was also fortunate that my parents were on board too, and they were so supportive, and I just worked so hard, and I'm lucky that I had that support system, because, unfortunately not every family and every child can, have that commitment and support from their parents. So I owe a lot to my family for, supporting me, cheering me on, and even my brothers too. Like it's not always roses. There's some tough times, but they all supported me and helped me along the way.
No, that's great. Yeah. And I just remember I played baseball a little bit with Donnie too. And I just remember he was always saying, you were away in Toronto, this day and that day, and he would have to get rides with someone, or he's always there. Just the positive attitude though. Just kind of everyone spoke very highly of your parents too. So just a cool thing. But can we just transition into the inline for a bit? So 11 years, 2 gold medals, 6 silvers. How did you get hooked up with that program? And do you enjoy it? How is it different from ice hockey?
Yeah, so actually I started playing inline hockey when I was in my junior year, going back to Mercyhurst, and a couple of my teammates were playing, and I was just coming off my concussion injury. I was out of hockey for a year, and I was out of school for a year and a half. So I kind of was trying to get back into competitive playing again, and it was kind of a nice way. So I ended up starting to play in an inline league in Toronto with some of my friends, and ended up going out to national camp, and I ended up making it my first time, which I was a bit surprised, but growing up, we had a backyard rink and my parents put down pavement. So I was always out there rollerblading with my brothers, and I was so competitive because I wanted to keep up with them. So then I ended up being selected to play. My first tournament ever was in Detroit, Michigan, and then the following year was in Germany. And I feel like after my first couple of years is when I really hit my stride in inline hockey. And after I graduated from Mercyhurst, I continued playing, and I have been really fortunate to be have played in 11 Worlds, medaled 10 of the 11 times. And I haven't officially retired from the national program yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to play in another Worlds. Obviously things with COVID have changed, but I am getting older, so I haven't officially retired yet, but I may play in another Worlds, I'm not sure. So it was just such a great opportunity to travel the world and to play for your country. And inline is getting really close to going into the Olympics. It's shortlisted actually for the 2028 Olympics in LA. Oh. I'm not sure if it will go in, but obviously it's a really unique sport, because it's not just a Canada USA showdown, and there's other countries that are really good at roller hockey. And some of the big differences with inline versus ice is there's no offsides, there's no icings. It's a 4-on-4 game. It's a quick game. I really like it because my strong point is not back checking. So I can do a lot of floating. And obviously everyone has a role on a team. So I really like jumping into open spaces and putting the puck in the net. And honestly, the national program, they've just been so good to me, and I've just loved every second of it. We went to so many cool countries, and my family has been able to come to a few tournaments, which has been nice. I think my favorite one was Colombia. I don't think we went to bed that night. So it was a pretty cool tournament. Colombia was really unique because as soon as we got off the plane, we had 3 police officers with us at all times, every single place we went. They stood outside of our hotel all night long, and they would go on our team bus to the rink. They would stand outside our dressing rooms. It was a whole different experience than you would going to another country. But it was actually one of my favorite tournaments. And my mom and dad were there for the final game, and we won. And after the game, they rented a party bus for us that was like an old school bus with like open sides, and we had a band on it. So these police officers went around the whole city with us as we celebrated our win. And I'll never forget this. My dad is a big fan of happy hour. And when we were running out of booze. So one of the police officers got off the bus and went up to one of the liquor stores to get them to open. And my dad, of course, was first in line to stock up for some happy hour drinks. So it was just an awesome experience. And I just think it's so neat to experience different cultures and different countries. And again, just following my passion with the game of hockey, and just, it's just such a good experience.
Where in Colombia was it?
And why are there police officers all the time?
So police officers, because of the events, so obviously there's a lot of issues in Colombia with, not the greatest things going on over there. So with this event, that was a requirement that they had to have police officers with us at all times with our team. So every team had police officers just for, extra security and safety. And then it was in Bucaramanga in Colombia is where we were.
But the thing with Colombia is, and well, you would know, but they say it's actually a lot cleaner, and they cleaned it up since, the Pablo Escobar days in the 80s and all the cartels and everything. And they say it's actually a much safer place than back then, right? But obviously, with the history and everything, that's probably part of the reason why, make sure everybody is still safe. Because it is technically a third world country, and there is poor neighborhoods, right? So you don't want anything to happen. It probably isn't worth the risk, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I felt safe the whole time I was there, for sure. And I think the biggest thing is that when these tournaments happen, there's, probably 20 or 30 different countries with the women and the men. And I think the last tournament, there was at least 15 women's countries that played. And I would say probably the top 8 countries, at any time could take a medal. So it's not just Canada and US, and the other countries can play the sport because they don't need cold arenas. They can go outside and they can play. So they don't necessarily, the climate isn't necessarily as much as an issue as it is for ice hockey.
Now I got a question with that. It's just a random question, but around here, especially all my guy friends for hockey in the summer is ball hockey. I can't think of many people that really played inline. But you're saying how big it is and the chance of it going to the Olympics and everything. Why isn't there any really around here? At least for men too. Like, I find that kind of weird.
Yeah, it's a great question. There's a lot of leagues in like Toronto, Mississauga, the London. You have to have sport cork to play real inline. So I actually would go out to the arenas because I have special wheels on my rollerblades. So I would go out and practice on the cement in Belleville if I was, getting ready for Worlds. But you actually have to have special sport cork. So they would have to take a rink and put blue sport cork in to actually have a real inline hockey game. So that's probably why you don't see it often in the smaller municipalities. But in the bigger cities, there's a lot of leagues. And when we're training to go to Worlds, we actually play in a men's league, and we don't always win, but we're very, very competitive. And I would say 95% of the time we can always beat the guys in a shootout.
In a shootout.
I got one here. So when you're in Colombia, that you won a gold medal in that one, correct? So who'd you play in the finals? What was the score? Yeah. And do you have any memories that stick out about the game or even the tournament?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, we played USA in the finals, and we won 4-2. And it was just like such an awesome experience. We had such an incredible team, and a lot of these girls are former D1 players or current D1 players, and we just had such a good team mix of young and some older veterans, and just an incredible, coaching staff, management team. It was just such an awesome experience, and just to have my parents there to see it all happen was just that much better.
Where did you win your other gold? You have 2 golds, right?
Yes, 2 golds. Yeah. So the other gold was in Italy in 2016. Again, we beat the US in the finals, and that was also a really, exciting tournament. And I love Italy. I've been fortunate to be there 3 times, and yeah, I don't think representing your country ever gets old, and I just love to play, and it's just so much fun. Some of my closest friends and memories I have are with hockey. So I look at it as every year I get to go on a trip with some of my best friends. And we get to play hockey and travel to a new city or a new country we've never been to.
What was your best world championship personally? Your stat line?
I I think I think it would be either 2012 or 2016. I was named the top player in the world in 2012, and I won the award for the top scorer of the tournament. In 2016, I had a really good tournament too. I can't remember my stats, but honestly, all I cared about was winning that gold medal.
Yeah. Do you guys get rings?
No, we never got rings. We get some other stuff. The funding for roller hockey isn't where it is with ice, but it's getting better. But no, we get pretty much a whole new wardrobe every Worlds, and we get some other pretty cool stuff.
Oh, that's pretty neat. Did you get like a gold medal or like anything for winning it though from the tournament? Yeah.
Oh yeah. We had a couple of really nice gold medals from the tournaments for sure.
That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Now I want to bring it back because we kind of skipped ahead in your career and whatnot. And you mentioned it early on, but growing up, obviously you have two brothers, and battling against them and wanting to beat them. You talked about that, but also you played for the Belleville Bobcats and Quinte Red Devils. So what was it like playing against the boys? And obviously probably because you're a girl, you almost got to prove yourself time and time again that you belong, right? So that obviously helped you. But what was it like, and what sort of who would have helped you along the way?
Yeah, so I definitely for me to play with the boys, I always knew that I couldn't be as good as the boys. I had to be better than a lot of them to make the teams. So I had that attitude going into it. I was very competitive from a young age. I think growing up on a farm with two brothers, I have that competitiveness to me. And I had some awesome coaches growing up, and I also had some coaches that weren't as great, let's just say that. But I think one of my best buddies growing up was Brandon Dafo, and his dad was like one of my first coaches on the Sneaky Pete's team when we won All Ontario, and I always like bug Brandon. He's still a good buddy of mine now. About that team and about our experiences together, and he was a great coach. My dad actually helped coach some of the boys teams, and he was great. And some of the other guys, the Tall Trees guys, John Port was another really good coach that I had growing up. And Tall Trees was a huge supporter of so many minor hockey teams when we were all growing up. And another name too that was really cool, when I think I was in Pee-wee when this may have happened, was John Enright. He was another really good coach that I had, and he actually called me one day and said to me, "Hey Jackie, I was a young girl at the time, so I'm sure he talked to my mom, but he got me on the phone and said, Jackie, all the boys voted for you to be captain of our team. I just want to make sure you're good with that before I put the C on your jersey." So I obviously was a young kid at the time. I think over time, I just was treated as one of the guys, which I was totally fine with. And a lot of the guys, I think really did respect me and knew that I just loved to play, and I was just like one of them.
That's pretty cool. So I was kind of giggling there, so I hope I didn't take you off beat there. But I did know that you and Dafo are pretty good friends. So I did message him actually last night, and I asked if there was anything I should bring up. So, of course, Dafo being Dafo, he doesn't bring up anything serious. He brings up something funny. So, obviously, he says, do you remember chasing him down the hall at Quinte and falling down the stairs in front of everyone? That's what he told me to ask. So if you do, what was going on there? What was going on there?
I don't know. I was always in a constant battle with him in high school, and he would chirp me because I wasn't out and about partying with all those characters, and I had to be, and that was a time where I had to kind of start separating myself a little bit. But I always had great respect for him, and I thought it was really funny because he got drafted to the Erie Otters, and I was at school at Mercyhurst, which is the same city. So he's a funny one. He was in Erie, I think, a little bit of the 1 year, and then he got mono and he had to go home. But No, he was one of my best buddies growing up, and like, you know how like kids get together and like go to each other's houses to hang out or play or whatever, and he would be like, I'd be at his house or he'd be over at my house playing hockey, and he was a great friend. And I love that he's had a little girl now, because I told him that payback's a bitch.
So did you teach Dave that Belleville famous backhand of his?
Yeah. Every time he's on a break, it's funny because he does that move every time. And we played against him on Saturday, and he was on a breakaway, and I was still inside the blue line, his blue lines. We're on opposite teams, and I yelled, "Backhand!" Of course, he did it, and actually the goalie saved it. And the boys are like, "Who yelled that?" But anyways, that's what Flem was asking.
Oh yeah, no, he's awesome. He's such a great guy, and I still chat with him and keep in touch and stuff. And no, he loves to chirp me for sure, but I just give it right back to him.
Good.
The other guy you mentioned there was John Porton. John actually was our coach, Brennan, me and you and Adam or Pee Wee, something like that. And
yeah.
Again, Tall Trees was the sponsor, and was a great guy. And I've known him. We've known him our whole life, pretty much growing up with one of his sons, Colin, there too. So always good to hear that name as well.
Yeah, no, and there's lots of guys like that. Back then, women's hockey wasn't where it is now, and I truly loved my time playing with the guys. There was a couple guys that, certainly maybe never liked that I was on the guys team. But it was just always my goal. I just loved the game. I just wanted to play at the highest level and get better. And for me, it was, playing boys hockey was the best option at that time. And, I'm just so glad that I had, a great minor hockey growing up and was involved with a lot of really great guys as my teammates.
Now, kind of talking about women's hockey, do you have any thoughts on how they can improve the pro leagues here? Like, do you think it's important that they consolidate the two professional leagues, or do you have any thoughts or insights how they can go about strengthening the pro program for women?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been watching, the last few years and how everything is unfolding, and I just think it's so awesome. There's so many great people involved in both sides, and I have athletes that, play in the NWHL in the US, but then I also have some that are, involved in the PWPHA, and I think that we're so close to getting a professional women's league, and I think that there's more and more people that, are really respecting women in sport, even more so now than ever. And that goes with the game of hockey. And I think that we all can see how skilled these girls are at the highest levels. And you watch the Olympics and you watch how good they are. And, it's a money thing for sure. But I just, with my time that I've been working as a professional now and have been around some pretty awesome people high up in the game and just see the respect that they have for women and, for their hockey. And I think we're getting close. But, hopefully in the next year or two, that is an option for a female. I look at my little niece now, Sydney, who's playing hockey and loves it. And, if that's something that she wants to stick with, moving forward. And I asked her the other day what she wanted to be when she grew up. And she told me that she'd like to be a hockey player. And I thought to myself, how cool would it be by the time she was at a university if she could, play in a women's league where she could make some money and she wouldn't have to have another career, to keep her going.
Absolutely. Do you think the NHL needs to get on board with that? Like, it can only help the professional, like the men's game as well, right? Like to bring the women along with it. I mean, do you think they need to step up and get involved more?
Yeah, for sure. I think the NHL wants to get involved, and I think that they are getting involved. If you looked like this past weekend, there was an event put on by the Washington Capitals for the PWPHA teams in Washington, and there's more events coming. There was one last year in Arizona. I think the NHL certainly is getting more involved than they have in years past, and I think it's only going to continue, and this momentum is going to continue. And I think that there's also some really good hockey players that are coming out of Europe now too. Like even when I was in university, we had 3 or 4 girls out of Europe that came over to play in the US and go to school, and they were good hockey players. And I just think it's so I think we're just so close to kind of that next step, and I think it's going to happen one of these days. And I think you look at some of the girls that have come through our area. If you look at, Hannah Button or Cassidy Winkle, those girls are still playing. Alexa Hoskin, I'm sure, will play some pro hockey when she's done university. And it's been really neat to see, their journeys and their stories, and, how hockey has kind of taken them with these new professional leagues. And I think it can only get better, and we're all hopeful. And I think the more and more people that are supporting the game and getting involved, it's only going to make it better.
I think the two things you got to compare is there's no question that it needs to be improved, and the women's it needs to be broadcasted more, and there needs to be money involved. But I think if you look back at where things were years ago, there has been a little bit of a step. And to go on with that, I mean, you would know a little bit more than us, but it almost seems like Canada and the U.S. are the top dogs every year, right? So it seems like they already are further ahead than some of the other countries out there. So I think that's something to be proud of to start out with. But having said that, there is so much more room to grow, and I think, especially if you can get the NHL on board, I mean, that's the next best thing, I think. That'll help them, right? And, I think, like you say, it'd be awesome. Yeah, I know if Fleming has 2 daughters, and if they ever wanted it, it'd be great for them at least to be able to make a career out of it, right? Where they don't have to be working on the side and then, try and play pro hockey, right?
No, for sure. And I think the biggest thing is when you work so hard, you work alongside the guys your whole life, you play at a high level, you train as hard as them, you practice as hard as them, you go to university, you get your education paid for, and then you continue up your training and all of that. And then after university, there's not really anywhere else to play. And as a female, you have to, if you want to have a career, you have to have an education. And, all these girls that are going through on scholarships, it's the same. It's like you get done university and it's like, okay, now what? What do I do now? Well, you have to prioritize your career as a professional. And if you still want to play hockey, it's because you love the game and you can't make a viable living out of it. And I really hope that we are moving, towards a time where women will be able to, have that career and be able to play at those high levels just like the guys do. And I would like to think that we're getting closer and closer all the time. And I can speak for myself and just say that, the men at the highest level in hockey have nothing but respect for women who have played the game at a high level. And, they have great skill sets, and it's so cool to see, people getting involved in the game and getting opportunities. And I'm a huge fan of, all those girls that are getting scouting positions or management positions. And it's only a matter of time, right? If you look at that, men at the NHL level are showing so much respect for women and getting them involved in their teams. And it's so awesome to see.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just looking at what you've done, I mean, you've been a huge ambassador, especially in our area, which is only going to keep growing the game. And everybody that's looked up to you now, they have to take it to the next level and be an ambassador. And as that happens, the women's game will keep growing. So great job on that. But having said that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your business and everybody that you're training and everything that you're involved with?
Yeah, for sure. After I was done university, I went to teachers college for a year and started teaching. And I always knew I wanted to go back to school and do my master's. So I had an opportunity to go back to Mercyhurst, and I graduated with my Master's of Exercise Science in 2013. And then I decided to start my own business. I really enjoyed training growing up, and I thought it was something that was lacking in our area to have a facility specifically for athletes. So I decided to, firstly, I rented space with the Belleville Bulls. I worked with the Belleville Bulls for 10 or 15 years as one of their hockey development instructors. And I was able to use their space to start training some athletes. And then once the Belleville Bulls were sold, it was kind of a decision that I had to make. Do I want to stick with it? Do I not? I always thought it would be a really unique opportunity for me to build something near the farm where I grew up. So I decided to, I was able to get some land that was zoned rural residential. So for me to build my training facility, I had to do a presentation to council and get the zoning changed to commercial. So I did my presentation to council, and I was really fortunate that it was unanimous. They all voted for me to be able to build my training facility, and I was able to get the zoning changed, and that's how my business goal of performance training started. So we started training people in the summer of 2015 when it was being built, and I started my business in 2014 and then started building my actual facility in 2015. We see all different types of athletes now, a lot of hockey players, but all different sports. We work with about 150 athletes a week, give or take a few, and we've had over 55, 60 kids make it to their highest level in their sport, which is something we're really proud of. Obviously, we want to see results, and we want to see kids moving on and reaching their goals. And for me, having this business was a way for me to still be involved in the game and to give back and to do something meaningful in my life and to help others. So it's just so exciting to be a part of a lot of these kids' journeys, and I really enjoy watching them at the grassroots levels and watching them grow up and develop into great players. And along the way, I've been fortunate to be invited by the OHL to work at some of their fitness combines, and I'm really excited about some things that I have in the works now that could be potentially coming to Belleville soon, which is exciting. And I've also been fortunate to be invited to work with the NHL, at the officiating department, and work with them with their fitness and a lot of their on-ice testing at their combines. So I'm just love being involved. I love this side of fitness, and it's a great way for me to make a career and still be involved in the game as a female. And I just take opportunities, and you just never know where they'll take you. So I'm excited to be involved in some more NHL events coming up, and it's just a different side of the game, but it's something that I've been really enjoying. And last August, I was sitting in a room with 100 men at one of their training camps, and we were listening to Gary Bettman speak, and there was only 2 females in the room, and I was one of them. And I just feel so fortunate that the men at that level give me those opportunities and bring me in and have nothing but respect and value my opinion and my ideas. And I just feel really fortunate to be involved with that organization. And then locally too, it's so much fun just being involved in kids' journeys and helping them get to the next level in their sports through our fitness, nutrition, mentorship programs. And I haven't mentioned this yet, but after my concussion injury, I was in a kind of a tough spot, and I was really, really fortunate. My university sent me to the University of Pittsburgh to work with some of the world-renowned concussion specialists and basically retrained my brain so I could go back to school and play hockey. And I felt like I owed it to others to share my experience and help them. So that is also why I created the concussion program at my facility. And we've had over 2,000 athletes come through the doors for baseline post-injury testing. And it's something I'd like to do more of in the future. And that's how basically I started my business. And I just hope to keep growing it and just continuing to help lots of people in our community.
That's pretty amazing. And like I said in my introduction speech, taking down barriers, right? So, and that's exactly what you've done, and just keep going. We absolutely love what we're seeing. Now, just one question, like how you said kind of train your brain. How does that work? Like, and what kind of things did you do, or how do you learn all that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I worked with Dr. Lovell. He's actually retired now, out of the University of Pittsburgh. So the old way of thinking with concussions was to sit in a dark room and do nothing. So with them, they had me on a very specific heart rate monitoring program, which I was able to get rid of my symptoms over time. And I just couldn't believe the difference. And I don't know where I'd be today if it wasn't for the support that I had from there. So I knew that when I was done grad school, I wanted to do all my training so that I could be certified to not only conduct the concussion testing I'm not a doctor, but I can send kids off to doctors and also help them. I'm a kinesiologist, so I can help them with the treatment of the concussions and, help them get rid of their symptoms so that they can get back to their sports safer, but, quicker. So I was always intrigued by the way that they helped me. And I just feel like concussions is, has been a huge topic for the last, several years, and we've come so far, but I still think in Canada, there's room for improvement. And I looked at the way I was, treated in the US with regards to the medical experience that these doctors had versus Canada. Seeing a doctor, okay, well, you have had a concussion and you've been out for so long, you can't get rid of your symptoms. You can't play hockey anymore. Well, no, that's not actually the right answer. The right answer is you just need to find somebody that can help you and get you better, because you can go back to your sports and doing what you love. And it's just proper treatment. So I think in Canada, we still have a ways to go, but we're certainly better than where we were. And that's what was a huge inspiration behind my concussion program is, I wanted to turn a negative into a positive.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I'm like you in that sense where I hate when somebody says, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's like, no, you can. You just have to try harder and find a way. And, I always use the thing, when there's a will, there's a way, right? So that's it's pretty inspiring. Absolutely. And I mean, it's crazy to think, like, I've talked to my buddies with this, and I feel like when I was playing junior, which was a while ago, it was kind of like the middle ground, because like before me, concussions didn't really exist. It was like, you had a head injury, you're good, you're all right, you're good to go. And then, you started transitioning into it. And now it's so important, not just in hockey, but in every sport and almost everything we do. And, I think you guys do pre-concussion training so that they know how how it works, so that you kind of know how your brain reacts and stuff beforehand.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a baseline test where it's a neurocognitive baseline test. So you have that data. So if you ever have a concussion, it's really helpful. It's not like an MRI where you can actually like see what's going on in your brain. If someone has a concussion, 90% of the time they have a CAT scan or MRI, it's going to show nothing. Where the neurocognitive test, it actually looks at specifically verbal memory. It also looks at reaction time, brain processing speed, all those kinds of things that, those MRIs and those CAT scans aren't going to show. So it's a tool. It's not the end all. You still need to see a doctor, but it is a really helpful tool when someone's recovering after a concussion. And Jeff, you're so right. We all grew up. We all got hit in the head so many times. And even people before us were the same. And, probably we had more concussions than we even realized. But now that concussions are, taken more seriously with regards to, we know more about them. So more is being done. And it's nice to see that in the leagues, it's a mandatory thing to have these baselines, because it's so helpful for kids. And it hopefully will keep kids, safer so that they can continue to play their sports.
So you kind of talk about how concussions have kind of, come to the forefront over the last, 15, 20 years. What about training and the stuff you guys do at Gold Performance Training? Like, it seems like 15 years ago, like it was kind of maybe you'd go to the track and run laps, but how far has that progressed in the last 10, 15 years?
Yeah, so it certainly progressed a lot. I think that we still have a ways to go in Canada. The old school of thinking of sitting in a dark room is certainly something that isn't talked about, I'm hoping, very much anymore. Light exercise with heart rate monitoring can go a long ways in helping with the whole getting rid of your symptoms after a concussion, depending on your symptoms. There's several different types of concussions that you can have too. But if you're able to do light exercise and start building yourself up a bit, it's so good, because you're able to start getting the blood flow going, and it's going to help to eventually get rid of your symptoms.
Now, what about, like, you hear a lot of guys, and I think this actually happened with Sidney Crosby, where he was out so long, and then they started doing like neck treatments, and they found that helped. Is that something that they're starting to do more of, or is that just kind of like a one-off?
I think it depends on the type of concussion that you have. A lot of your neck muscles run into the back of your head. So a lot of the times when you start, some guys may have a concussion and have some whiplash. So sometimes, treating the neck is really helpful, because headaches could be coming from that area. But everybody's situation is different. And, it just depends on the athlete and their symptoms as to what is the best treatment for them.
Yeah, for sure. You got something fun?
I got one more here, Jeff. So Jackie, throughout your career, what's one or two really good plays that you've made when you're playing, whether it's inline or ice skating, that stick out? Maybe you went end to end, or what are two big goals or points you had?
Well, if you ask my kids that I teach every day in the hockey academy, they would tell me I don't have any hands.
Okay.
It's crazy to me though how like the stick handling has just taken off in the last 10 years in these kids' hands. Like, it's unbelievable. I'm sure you guys would agree with me on that. 100%. I think for me, probably one of my best goals was when we were in Italy and we were down 1-0 to Italy. And I had 2 quick goals in one shift to get us back on top. And once we got through that quarterfinal game, we were right off to the semifinals and right into the finals, and we just dominated. I think we were having a bit of a tough game, and I remember the one goal, I just took a slap shot real close to the net, and it went top cheese. I think that's probably one of my best goals that I've scored at the international stage. I also scored a pretty nice goal one time when we were playing the US in a shootout. So that was certainly, I think, a good one for me. I think the tournaments you remember the most about are the ones you won. So Italy and Colombia, for sure, for me.
Yeah, for sure. You always remember the ones you won. And just to knock on Davo since he chirped you, ask him about provincial ball hockeys one time. I had to drive home with him after. And it's one of the ones you don't want to remember, but I just thought I'd throw that there because it's Davo. But just the other thing you talked about with people's hands, like, I feel like that's the number one thing that's grown in hockey, or one of the got to be up there, is the hands. Like, it's, we're seeing the Michigan goal is where it started. Like, everybody's trying that. I think Matthews tried that last week. But not only that, just the movement and the shifting, and it's unbelievable what some of these kids can do. And I think that's only gonna increase, right? Like, it's just the skill level where all of a sudden this guy's doing that, and you can't hit him, or you can't run him off the puck, or whatever the case.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And it's so cool to see, like, the young kids now growing up, their skill set and their what they're able to do with the puck is just next level. And, gone are the days that you just show up at the rink and you just practice. There's so much more now to being a hockey player. And I just think it's so neat to see these young kids, and how fast their hands are and all these quick moves they can make. It's just absolutely incredible. And the women's game is just going the same way. The women are the young girls are just so much more skilled. And, you look at like the coaches are better. And, there's lots of guys that I could name of that are involved in coaching that have little girls now that, want to see them hopefully do something with their hockey careers too, I'm sure. And I think it's just, everything is just making our game that much better.
Yeah, for sure. Now, 2-part question, I guess. First part, you ever plan on getting into any coaching at a high level? Has that ever been a plan?
That's a great question. I was fortunate to actually have some opportunities to go to the US to do some coaching, but I've decided to I wanted to move back to Belleville and be able to spend time with my family after being gone for so long. And, I have really good relationships with my nieces and my nephew. So I'm not sure if I'll, be a coach maybe at like a high level university. It would be fun to coach a AAA team locally, but I just want to give it my all if I'm going to do something like that. And I think right now the timing isn't right, and I have a lot of things going on with NHL, and I think being involved in the game in a little bit of a different way for me is really exciting. I'm still coaching, but just more of a fitness role, testing kind of a role.
Yeah, and the second part of my because coaching, you're right, it takes so much time, and I know I did it before, and actually, I used to take my teams to you. It's so much time.
Yeah, I have so much respect for the time that these coaches put into these teams. And, I was talking to Ty Green last week, and I see some kids off of his team, and like the amount of effort and time commitment that these coaches put into the team, like it's unbelievable. And I have so much respect for them. And, I'm not saying I don't want to coach. I've actually coached the boys team at St. Teresa a few times. But it's just, it takes up a lot of time. And, I have some other things that I'm working on right now that, I've taken up my time.
Well, that's good. That's good. Now, the last part is in the women's game, we'll say, or what's the biggest thing that you think needs to change for the good?
Sorry, say that again.
What's the biggest change that needs to happen in the women's game to help grow the game?
I think to help grow the women's game, the biggest thing is the financial side of the game. If I was coming out of university and I was able to dedicate my entire day to becoming a better hockey player, I couldn't imagine how good of a hockey player I would have become, because even though I was still an athlete with a national program, I had 2 jobs on the side, and I would be driving 2 hours every night to my training and then coming home to get up at 6 o'clock to make sure I was on time for work in the morning. So for me, I think the biggest thing is the financial aspect. If a woman can make a good career playing hockey, she can donate or dedicate her entire day to becoming a better hockey player, just like the NHL players do, whether that's, meal prep, training, skills, all those kinds of things. If I was 15 years younger and this professional women's league was going to happen and I could make money playing, like, it would be my first choice 100% for a career. And I just think if women are able to make that money, they can dedicate their time to just becoming the best hockey player they can be. And it's only going to help and grow our game. And little girls are going to see them and be like, oh my gosh, I could totally do that if I keep working hard at my hockey. And I think until that changes, it's, I was at an event this past weekend, and I was talking to an awesome girl out of Ottawa who, is in the PWPHA, and she wants to continue playing hockey, but she has to work too. So she says, unfortunately, hockey can't be my priority anymore because I can't make the money playing. I have to make sure I have a career, and it's sad. And, I really believe, even from the time that I felt like I was a minority growing up as a girl hockey player, female athlete. I think it's changed. I think being a female athlete is way more respected and accepted in today's society, which is awesome, but we still have a long ways to go. And until the girls can financially have a stable career, that's the biggest thing that will change the women's game.
I think you're 100% correct on that. Like you say, you can never be as good as you want to be, or you can be, if you're not all the way in. And if you have to have a part-time job or whatever the case, then you can't be, right? You're not putting all your time and effort into it. Even guys that are playing, in the OHL, I mean, they don't have to have a part-time job because they're able to put all their time and effort into it. So, like you say, I think things have gotten obviously a lot better, but we still have a long way to go. And hopefully, whether it's the NHL or whatever other types of things that can step up financially to make it, not where they have to make $10 million a year, but at least enough where, they can live stably and don't have to worry, right? And at least for the time being where they're playing, they can just focus on that. And I think I definitely agree with you that if that ever happens, the women's game's only going to improve, and you're only going to get more fans, right? And it's not just about the women. There's going to be lots of men that are going to want to watch it too. So let's all hope that the future's bright, and I'm sure it is. It might be a little rocky here at the start, but I think once they get going, more people are going to realize that people do want to watch it, and it is entertaining.
Oh, for sure. And I think that the other thing that we have going for us as women is that there's a lot of men that are, very successful in the hockey world that have daughters, and, they see them growing up and working so hard, and they go off to university and then they have nothing else after. And like, you ask any of those guys that I grew up with and how hard I trained in the summer and how hard I worked, like, I worked just as hard as the guys, but, after their university or after their OHL careers, they still have opportunities to go and play hockey and make money. But for a female, you just don't. So it will be so awesome when that actually happens. And I just think, that's the biggest thing that is holding the women's game back from getting to where it needs to be.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of momentum on that side right now too. I just hope everyone can come together and capitalize on that momentum, because I think there's a very good window in the next 2 to 5 years kind of thing where something really big could happen for that, I think.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you. I can't wait to see it happen.
And especially with COVID just happening and now it's getting over with, obviously it's even a challenge for businesses like the NHL that's so successful just to get out of that, right? So now that we're free from there, hopefully things can take off. And, hey, we'll see a women's league where they're actually being able to focus 100% on that. But you got any more questions, Flem?
No, that was it for me, buddy.
Well, thanks a lot for coming on. It's been awesome. We've had a lot of fun, and like we say, we could probably go on all day with the accomplishments and things you're involved with. But it's been a lot of fun. So thanks a lot for coming on tonight, Jackie.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, guys. It's so much fun to talk about the old days, and I just love being from this area. And thank you so much for having me.
Well, best of luck with everyone you train as well. I know I've seen you do it firsthand when I had my Quinte Red Devils team back in the day there. You do an amazing job. So if anybody is looking for a fitness trainer, she's the one to go to.
Thanks so much.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Jackie Jarrell. She's such a pillar to female athletics, especially hockey and roller hockey in our area. 11 world championships. Who do you know has played 11 world championships? I've played in 2 in ball hockey, and I know a couple guys that have played in 3, maybe 4, but 11 is insane. Couple time world champion, and I love the time she was talking about being able to take planes, playing Division I hockey and how they were more popular than the guys. And, they had such successful team, just pretty cool. And I hope the women's game does grow because we need it to grow. I can just imagine the young girls growing up playing hockey, and obviously they can look at NHL players as role models, but it would just be just as important to look at girls that can put 100% focus into their hockey. Maybe they won't get 20,000 at a game, but even if they give it a few thousand, and have a sustainable business where they can focus fully 100% on the sport of hockey, I think that would be amazing. So hopefully in the next couple of years, they can make that happen. So guys, we really hope you enjoyed Jackie Jarrell's interview today. We actually have had more requests for women. There's another one there. I'm not going to say her name, but was requested today. So hopefully we can get her on. And if you have anybody else that you might be interested in or thinking, hey, they should get this guy on or that guy, send us a message, guys. We're going to keep pumping these interviews out. They are amazing. We have a ton of fun while we do it. And don't forget about our tournaments. And don't forget about if you know anybody that wants a partner. There's lots of ways to get involved, guys, and together we can help everyone play. Pay it forward sports. Everyone can play.